starting on the CT side here. So we'll see what Envy can do on the T side. Do you think there's a preference in terms of upsets, Halv, or which side Envy starts on?
I don't think it necessarily matters. Honestly, I feel like Train is a really weird map as well. Again, it doesn't really have the same kind of balance to it as the old versions did, obviously, where it's one side is heavily favored. For Envy, I think it's more of like, if they can get off to a good start as CT or T, it doesn't really matter. They can still roll with that. But honestly, if I'm an underdog in this kind of a situation, I would much rather start on the T side, simply because you're not expected to necessarily set the same kind of pace as you would on the CT side, or at least to me it feels worse when you start losing rounds on the CT side, because it feels like that's somewhere you should get off to a good start.
Well, speaking of good starts, it's pretty good going for Astralis so far. Able to they're not preventing the bomb farm, but the killing is going quite well so far. That said, Sixer is going to just throw a wrench into the works, but still there's a swath of Danes ready to respond, and they will start pressuring that bomb as Happy is last man standing. Would love a Molotov, I'm sure, but he doesn't want to have one. Has to just fight with this Glock. There's only so much you can do. Well, pretty. I feel like this is probably one of the most standard pistol rounds you can really see. Bomb goes down on B. CTs clean up and get the win.
Honestly, knife, bitches. What is that? Is that like the first knife you unboxed or what?
It could be, right? Or I guess maybe unboxed, yeah.
Right, we need to tweet Dupree right now.
Because it couldn't be the first knife you ever got. There's no way.
Yeah, those weren't.
Because butterfly knives took a while before they got into the game.
Yeah. What does first knife?
I'm really just playing, man.
Mean?
If Dupree answers you mid-game,
At Duprecious.
That'd be pretty legit, yeah. I mean, he's got like one of those fancy watches and see the mentions.
Oh yeah.
Something like
Apple watches. I felt like that nade landed inside of Sixer and somehow did more damage to RPK.
Inside.
That's pretty brutal.
I fucking don't know where to go with that. Actually, that reminds me of very off topic, but it is me after all. Kevin Randleman, rest in peace. He had a staph infection, which is something you often get from training on gym mats and so on, and it created he had a massive hole under his armpit. So if you are at home and you do a Google search for Kevin Randleman armpits, he had like a hole in his body.
Certain things you're gonna have a hard time explaining how ended up in your search history.
All right, I'm gonna show you guys.
Just the places where James' mind goes. That's,
where his Google searches goes.
He's a mixed martial
artist. That should be a
artist.
series. Trivia with James.
So, there you go.
World.
This is the
it's,
hole.
yeah, it's just the legit. Yeah, it's just a legit hole.
So it could land inside his body. He had a hole.
Jesus.
Yeah, have a look at that, Dan.
It's just a it's actual hole.
Yep.
That's charming, James. Charming.
How did that grenade do almost no damage? Did you see where that landed? They've got no Kevlar.
It's like right on their feet. Grenades in this game, man.
So that's
they
so weird.
They tell so many lies, don't they?
I would love to see. I would love to see. You know, like in fighting games, you've got hitboxes, right? There must be like a.
You have those in CS as well.
Yeah, but I mean for grenades.
Yeah, I know.
Right, like the spreads. I don't know, man.
The hurt box.
Yeah, because how did that do like almost no damage? I don't know. Anyway, it's buy time. Envy going to be whipping out the AK. Sixer contemplating an AWP. Doesn't quite have the money for a helmet. It seems he'll go 5 AKs.
Astralis' aggression on this map was really awesome at E-League. We saw them, I think, was it against Fnatic? I think it may have been, yeah. Where they were just basically just taking like just pieces of the map away at specific timings, and it was always very smart. Like, it always made sense with the entire sort of topography of the team on the CT side. And Fnatic could just never respond to it, basically. And it so often worked out as a kill for either Device or Dupree. Device opening from the back, Dupree playing Pop Dog, never getting punished in that particular Fnatic game.
Did Device not see the foot?
I'm not sure that he did.
Oh,
but he will see that now.
I think he did see it because he has repositioned, but maybe he didn't want to. I mean, if he tries to take that shot, it could be that someone pops out and shoots him in the head. So
I still like the fact that he goes aggressive instead of just kind of giving up completely on any sort of map control in Ivy, because it forces him into a position in backline most likely that doesn't really allow him to do anything at all if there's an actual split coming out from ENVYUS. So the fact that he tries to go aggressive, potentially catches one of the Ivy players off guard is just a neat little choice.
Well, it's a bum rush into the A site from Envy, and there are players on fire. 3-on-3. Device will give his team a quick advantage. Manages not to get killed in a trade after missing that shot. 35 seconds, and Envy know they need to move quickly before the third CT repositions from the B bomb site. 2 players in connector, and there's kind of a flank coming in towards the Ivy position. So as Envy don't get the bomb down, they'll have less places to put it, especially with the Device essentially on the site, cover from Zipex disappearing, but leaving XMS on 10 HP.
Not an easy spot to be in, and there's Device with that CZ. Seen a lot from those recently, now down to the one tap master, ready to get shot in the back. And I really like that round from ENVYUS, just a super delayed sort of contact right out of main and Pop Dog. And I like it just because if you looked at Astralis' utility during, let's say, 30 seconds left, I think 2 or 3 players had almost max utility because it surprised them so much they were not able to throw the counter grenades because they had to have their guns out in the defense of the site. So that kind of tells you that ENVYUS' plan did work to that extent. They got into positions where they could get frags, where they could potentially win the round. They just sort of got outplayed individually in the end. But otherwise, I think it was a pretty good round for Envy.
I think I definitely agree with that. And if you look at the situation that Astralis found themselves in as well, even though they're up in man numbers, they had, I think it was Dupree down to 12 HP and Device at 34. So even in that situation, it could very easily lead to pickups for ENVYUS. I think they could have played the 2v3 a little bit differently in terms of just actually moving together, because you can see as I think it was XMS who moved up towards the bomb train, he didn't really have any sort of way of connecting with Scream to find any potential trade kills on the bomb site, and they knew the Device was around that area, or at least pinch on him, but doesn't really matter in the end. Astralis is going to pick up the eco round, or anti-eco round pretty easily without any significant losses.
Yeah, it's pretty smooth sailing for the time being. And, I mean, their record on train, I think, is actually pretty ridiculous. I mean, they are certainly one of the best train teams in the world. And as far as how they, from a technical perspective and a strategic perspective, I think they're definitely top 3 in the world in train.
On the subject of significant losses, there aren't many kills that Envy are getting at the moment. Scream hasn't got a single kill yet, but the point is this is a good situation for Astralis to build some cash. See, one guy's got 4 kills, everybody else 1 or none. So it's not really there for Envy at the moment, and this is too good a start for Astralis as far as Envy are concerned.
And I think this goes back to something you mentioned, Dan, earlier, the fact that Astralis like to take map control gradually on different places of the maps. And you can see they're kind of just ignoring Ivy in this scenario where, and as a result of that, they have Sipnix playing way more forward on the inner bomb site. Now that he's going to fall off and go over towards higher, probably see some more aggressive movements outside in yard. I like this. This allows for quick rotations. And obviously you get that information so much sooner that you're allowed to make more qualified decisions as to where you want to set up your defense. But it doesn't allow for enemies actually to roam around and get a lot of free space.
And you can see the way Zipex was just strafing at B. He had no intention of actually taking a duel there. He just wanted to get the information.
Was that Happy flashing for RPK?
I don't know, but RPK with the taps has opened up the B bomb site. The bomb's starting to rotate. He's got himself a lot of map control, and Astralis are not really rotating just yet, holding steadfast on A.
I think that makes sense. I think they're too afraid to just sort of start to meander into B, and if one, it's a fake. Obviously, they give up the A site in their positions, and then 2, they probably just want to set up a save. And indeed, they're going to try to hold onto these guns. This to me was the RPK special, actually. RPK just putting himself in a spot where he's going to win, or be in a 1 versus 1 on the upper areas of B, gets that first frag, just keeps pushing the envelope there, and just.
Well, you say putting himself in a spot, but I think his team are putting him in that spot.
Yeah, I think Happy flash from the pop flash
yeah.
on Sipnix, because I don't see how RPK, like even with an underhand throw, I don't think it would be like as effective to the point because it's so far away, so the flash will dissipate too fast for Sipnix to actually get caught out. So I think it was just a solid setup from Envy, and I think the initial plan wasn't even to have. Obviously, you don't expect RPK to be able to just open up the entire bomb site on his own. So I think the idea that ENVYUS has in that situation is that they'll send in RPK. Best case scenario, in their mind, he gets one frag and he
Send
creates a
in the
rotation.
tank.
Yeah, exactly. But in any case, I think the initial goal was always to go out towards yard, and I think that's also kind of what Astralis banked on, as they didn't make a single rotation towards the inner bomb site afterwards, because they were kind of hoping that Envy would overplay their hand or outthink themselves. Money's not really an issue for them at this point.
Interestingly, Astralis starting with 2 people in the B bomb site. Normally, people would start with 1, but some teams will go for the fast play to try to almost bunker bust the B bomb site.
One of the teams that actually play a lot of people, or like 2 players on the inner bomb side, is Envy. And they still do like this wonky setup on higher that I've never liked with Happy. When they go to double ops, they put up one guy by the ladder and then have Happy on higher aiming with the op, and it always seems to like, well, bite them in the ass.
It's a great shot from Device. Not going to get too greedy. Reset this position. Happy with a good flashbang. Envy are on point with those flashes as well, even when they're moving quickly to this area, saw it in the previous rounds. Although some CT Yorpers, if they're going towards B, they'll wait for that flash, expectant of it, and then peek afterwards, just standing in front of the wall. 45 seconds for Envy, a man down, and Glaive's making life much worse for them. Sixer, how do they trade in this situation? With a crouch peek. But is there enough, are there enough Envy players left to plant the bomb?
Really playing that clock down. The bomb is in no man's land. This is kind of a big issue. You've got to go collect that. It's going to take some time. I don't know if there'll be enough time to get back onto the train. As you go for the plant scream, just trying to clear out some space there, but it might all be for naught, as it appears so. Is Sixer, it's nothing to do but to save. No time to grab that bomb, unfortunately, for him. And yeah, this is a brutal situation for ENVYUS. That reset, man, it's so hard. Just Sixer left. He's of course saved the AWP, and thankfully XMS and Happy have some cash in the bank, but he loses this AWP. Oh god, that's
Cause I'm in too deep, blah blah blah, you know.
Significantly worse situation losing that AWP now.
That's a bad mistake.
Yeah, that's very curious as to why he wants to go for a peek in that situation. I think if he just hides in the corner, he'll survive just fine.
I mean, there are angles at close range where it can be an easy shot, but we just went so deep and exposed himself to more than one potential position. He doesn't know there are lots of people there, but
so just an unnecessary risk to take.
Yeah. So the numbers game coming out for Envy. Zipek's not going to reveal the position just yet, going to raise the alarm to his teammates. And there's a 2-man rotation into the B bomb site. So Device has got angles on long, on the lower area, and Zipex will back off, but keep an eye on the upper part.
This should be a pretty ugly slaughter coming in from Astralis.
Well, they go down the ramp, Device ready. There's the first flick shot, great connection. This setup indeed very formidable, and it's going to remain that way as XMS goes down. Just cheeky kill at the end, but that's about it for ENVYUS. 7 rounds for Astralis. They are in the most comfortable of places.
I think this would be a cool demo to watch from Zipex's perspective, purely from all the jewels he chooses not to take.
Well, that's a sign of a smart player, right? Like, kind of knowing your limits and not necessarily falling to greed each and every time. It's like you said, he spots the arm out from ENVYUS initially instead of just running into it and potentially getting gunned down by 5 people and allowing Envy to have an easy bomb plant. Just sets up with a rotation.
That's the thing. That's like one of the most important dynamics on the B bomb site too. Is that train yard. You want to prevent the T's from being able to move up the train yard. If they're able to block off that CT rotation out of the connector, then all of a sudden your chances go down dramatically.
Yeah.
But if your friends can get out of that choke point, start getting, sort of filling out those spaces at the back lines, suddenly, like, you have all these channels to throw grenades down. It starts to get really efficient for the CTs. So, yeah, it's a very important consideration in your setup as to the implication should you die.
But I think for people at home, I think for 95% of people, not taking a duel isn't even necessarily a concept.
Yeah, it doesn't...
Yeah, in a situations where we're seeing Zipex purely look for information, I think everybody at home is just going to fight.
Maybe they should play more Dark Souls, man. You got to learn to run away. You got to learn when you're beat. Got to run away. Woo! Ooh, speaking of.
Yeah, now it's winnable for the Envy side. Really trying to plant the bomb. They've still got time to deal with this, but Zipex will make life very hard indeed. So XMS is between a rock and a Zipex.
Able to get 3 kills out of that minimal investment from the French side, so it's not all bad.
It's much more than I could ask for at the beginning of that round.
Yeah.
P90.
I'm surprised at like, how XMS is able to spot device there.
Let's watch Dupree.
Oh god.
He's definitely got some. Maybe he's just a bit antsy. There's not much happening. I was about to say, you know, typically Dupree's going to have a big scoreline on this map. You know, he's got those forward positions playing pop dog, and usually he's right up there. But maybe he's getting antsy. It's time to take the action to the tees. He's picked the perfect round for the P90. Oh, glorious stuff.
Didn't he survive the last round? I think he threw his rifle to someone and bought the P90. Anyway, it's all fallen apart very quickly despite his work, and they know where he is, so Zipex has a lot to do, but his grenades will give Envy all the information they need as to where the CTs are/were. But now there are so many smokes down that both teams can dance around them. Of course, it's the team with the advantages right now. Surely Zipex gets traded here, leaving Dupree alone, who has tried to reset the situation himself, going all the way back to connector.
That was a pretty big kill for Zipex. I think he was very close for Sixer actually seeing him over the top of the train. But managed to just eke out one more kill. Dupree in with a chance if he's good on the first shots. Also have to guess right as well. It's never an easy game. Avery taking the train. It's one of the hardest bomb sites because you have to look everywhere. And there it is. Easy frag for XMS. And ENVYUS with their second round on the board. They are staring down an Astralis that has 8 rounds already though, and still is drawing from quite the economy. Quite the bank.
Well, they've got nothing left now. So this is a big round. Envy could have a late comeback if they win this round. Be a bad time. What a crazy situation. 2 kills with the P90 and all of a sudden everything falls apart. Speaking of which, Zipex with an aggressive play on his own there. Manages to get away though, and again, credit to the consistency of these flashbangs from Envy. Dupree manages to escape, so Astralis turning up the aggression in this situation. Can they trade though if Dupree goes down? Apparently they can. Kiabi, there's frags all over the place now, all over the map. 3 versus 2. Zipex and Glaive take RPK down. Bomb plant has to get cancelled. There's Glaive taking the planter down, so looking good for Envy, but it might just fall apart if they lose this. Will there be a force buy in the next rounds? Because taking 3 plays out from Astralis, there is something to capitalize on here for Envy.
There's definitely a chance. I don't think they really have. With how they've played so far, they've been very reliant on having utility to actually get in towards bomb sites. And with this economy, I don't think really you can go for a force buy in the same sense. Like, yeah, you can get CZs and a lot of utility, but it's still going to be really hard to push forward because you have to deal with the counter needs from Astralis as well. So, you know, without rifles, it's going to just be extremely tough. So I think this is a better choice long term for ENVYUS, even though it's very tempting to reset Astralis.
Punished having a nade in your hand. The very quick moving ENVYUS side with those pistols, but they will get sprayed down in the end.
XMS even gets a teammate.
Yeah. It's good to see, again, like the previous rounds, those pop flash aggressions into Team main. Astralis are amazing at that. I almost always see them actually convert with a frag off of those rounds. And to pick up the kills so early in the round against the T side is so valuable.
We've actually seen like consistent aggression coming out from Astralis as well. I don't think we've had a single round where they've straight up played a default.
Yeah.
Which is really cool to see. And they're doing a really good job of changing it up as to where they put on aggression and how they do it as well. We've seen Sivnix play aggressive on inner. We've seen Device taking aggressive peeks from the off as well on inner. Right now people are just dying through smokes.
Dupree's having fun.
Yeah. Yeah, he's having a great time, isn't he? He is the king of Pop Dog, it seems.
Time being, most certainly. And it seems that they have a good read as to where Sixer is. Fives will pop in to put him out of his misery. So this does not look like a good first half for Envy. Only 2 of 13 rounds at the moment. 2 more to fight for. And the cash isn't really there for them. Do they give up this round and just play for a 3rd round? It seems that might be the case.
Yeah, it's a bit of a pill that is to swallow. I think that's the only reasonable option to go with at this point. And still, it's again 3 rounds to give yourself that cushion to potentially lose the pistol and still be in it to a certain extent. More aggression coming out from Astralis.
Nice. Love it. It's really good to see. I think, again, it's just that difference between a good team and a very top-level team, a Tier 1 team, is that ability to find ways to always be aggressive, to just pressure, to poke, to get you get information in the course of that. You get some damage. You throw off their plans. You make it harder for them if you take away some map control that they needed. There's so many pluses to if you know how to do it well, and doing it well is all about making it as safe as possible. And to do that, use utility and stamina. Speaking of which, though, that was definitely quite a brave move by Dupree. And perhaps due to Glaive's position, he felt the confidence to go for it. Things are getting a bit weird here, actually. Glaive could just back away. Going to re-engage, though, gets the double, of course, and everything is suddenly very different. As now Happy's the only man left, and he's only got a Deagle, and no Kevlar as well.
I was about to say, like, I wouldn't be surprised if you saw Glaive back off in that situation. I think maybe because he bungles his smoke a little bit, he decides to not fall off. But in that scenario, they've boxed in ENVYUS to the point where they can only go towards in or down pop, and they know about it, so they can make rotations accordingly, while Glaive is always going to be that constant nuisance that ENVYUS has to consider being in their back. He's going in for a double kill, works out as well. Just going to go into the last round of the first half, and still plenty of utility on the side of ENVYUS on everyone except for Sixer, pretty much. And I think even though it's a very one-sided score, I think it's fair to say that ENVY definitely have had opportunities to get into the game, and we're sitting at a much prettier halftime score than what we're looking at right now.
Zipex going for the crab walk peak
with the op.
But Sixer is ready for it. Maybe a surprise weapon in the with ENVY looking for just their 3rd round of the half and the last round of the half. But there we go. How do ENVY capitalize on this? They still have control of IV with a player in position should a reaction push come in from Astralis. And in a previous round where Astralis lost some players, they did get quite aggressive in a number of areas. So ENVY, they've cleared out upper B area. They have presence towards IV. They can make that presence known if they want to.
Look at this, pretty much like all-in stack from Astralis on their end as well. They don't have too much utility to work with left. They have 2 smokes and a molly to really just fend off something for a significant amount of time, and obviously a lot of entry points to every site really on Train as a T. So they're just banking on numbers instead of just having the utility to hold off an eventual push. Now the fake is going to come towards the inner bomb site. I'm curious to see if ENVY is actually going to have any of the players actually sell themselves here.
RPK is making a lot of noise. That AWP might cause some problems. But let's see what these Astralis angles are like. It seems that they're not going to take the base immediately. Oh no, device gets exposed, but there was another CT looking through it looks like he was looking through the bomb site to the upper area, so maybe a mistake was made. Either way, the rotation's coming in towards the A bomb site, but maybe it's too late.
That's looking pretty bad. Dupree and Kirby sneaking in. Kirby, what can he find? Oh, that's a free one. Easy kill there for Kirby, getting some distraction as well. Perhaps that will create some space for Dupree. Perhaps not, but he gets a great snap on the entry. Happy down. Now it's up to Scream and XMS as they hold their positions. Time is slowly but surely ticking away there on the bomb. Still though, Astralis looking to work in for this. Kirby, will he go to pursuit? Just looking to cover his teammate at the moment, but getting trapped in between the wall and the smoke. And that is the end of the round for Astralis. And ENVYUS pick up a 3rd. A 12-3 scoreline, definitely a tough one, but... No, actually, I can't think of a bright side. I can't think of a silver
The bright side
lining.
is that they got the 3rd round down.
I guess so. That is the... I don't know, man. It's going to be tough, isn't it? And it's just such a... The best thing about Astralis' train is just that it's so consistent because
solid.
It's just solid. They get good reads. They have the setups. They have the routine and the drills.
And funnily enough, the one thing that caught them this time around is I think the angle that Bardolph was talking about was basically like in between the 2 kind of silo thingies on the bomb chain, and that leaves you with about like half a model of a gap for T to actually walk out on higher.
Right, right.
It's kind of surprising to see a team like Astralis not necessarily being aware of it, or maybe they didn't communicate it properly.
I've never tried to look at that angle before.
I keep going back to it every single time, and I always get disappointed when I notice somebody's dropped down from higher and killed me. I still do it.
Well, Astralis charging in. Scream seemed to have no idea that they could be... Where's the communication? He was completely focused. I don't know if... he didn't seem to have any idea that they were charging the site.
Different frequencies on the walkie-talkies.
That was really weird. Looked like he was AFK.
Sixers just like, yep, I'm out. But I guess he didn't spot the Dupree coming through. I guess that has to be it. If you just shoulder peeks towards Ivy, Dupree sneaks past, he catches the second guy. The information is going to be really too late. That has to be what happened.
Well, we've all seen how disgusting CZs are, so there's
Oh yeah. How happy are you guys about that gun being back in the fashion of things?
I always like the CZ, so for me, it's fine.
I hate it
like
with a passion.
It's fine.
I hate it with a passion.
What is wrong with you?
The concept of the weapon is so dumb that I can't wrap my head around it.
So
like
we watched Twist from Liquid. He got 4 kills with 1 clip last week.
That's the thing.
That was so godlike.
4 kills with 1 clip.
I'm surprised that it goes straight to the top of Reddit.
But it's like it's a kamikaze weapon that potentially that gives you the potential to wipe out, you know, the better part of a team. There you go. CZs. What a weapon.
You know what? I don't. It's okay if one person, if once or twice someone gets 4 kills with it with 1 clip, right? But it's like since everyone's gone back to it, it's clearly too powerful.
Oh yeah, no doubt. And the thing is, like, people forgot about it because obviously the way the CZ came into the meta was as a secondary for oppers, because you had the quick switch. It didn't have any delayed draw time on the weapon. And obviously it was just completely broken when it came out. I think it was like Katowice 2000 and I want to say 15, around that area, or maybe it was even before. Years are starting to blend apart.
That era of CZ just, for me, just ruined championships because.
Oh yeah, it wasn't fun to watch at all.
Horrible.
I mean, on train, it was always good. You know, it was just always generally good. Like, it just makes sense for that gun to be good on this map, on CT side in particular. But yeah, just the general usage has been quite alarming of late.
Yeah, it was just a matter of time. Like, we saw it around the last major that people are gradually getting more and more into the weapon. Because they nerfed it,
basically.
They nerfed it into the ground and beyond, really, after the initial release of how the weapon was. They added the draw time. Obviously, they messed around with how much ammo you had and the accuracy of it. And then nobody used it anymore, so they reverted a lot of the changes, kept the draw timer. But it's essentially, if you don't have, if you only have a secondary weapon and going into a round, you're never affected by the draw timer.
Yeah. So this is turning into a mess. 3-on-3. The Deagles are out for the T side, or the Deagle is out. No, Dupree's got one as well, but he's picked up an MP9. Happy force from his position.
Bomb is in a really awkward spot for the T's though. They have to cross into Sixer's crosshairs, unless Sixer actually gives himself up. But he could just stay in that cubby and be perfectly fine. So just deciding. This I don't really like from Sixer. He's kind of putting himself in a bit of a useless position, but RPK seems to have a grip of things. It does leave them a little bit exposed from 7 train.
What damage can he do? Looks like it's just Device now with the Deagle. Ooh, that's a close couple shots. One more bullet would do it. But RPK escapes.
Happy's tagged up pretty heavily as well, so could die to 1 bullet.
There it is. One more to go. Out comes the MP9 though.
It's a lot of money for RPK at least.
I was thinking, I want to compare the bullets of the MP9 with the CZ, because for me, the CZ is, I think, I would compare it to an MP9 with less bullets. Essentially, the way it plays, because it fires so quickly, and the bursts are insanely overpowered.
They're really good. But yeah, just the concept of that pistol just doesn't make sense to me, because it's, regardless, even if you pump the price up to 700 or something to that effect, and you don't have to do anything about the kill reward, because that's not necessarily like the reason why you buy the weapon, because if you take out an enemy, that's a loss of 4,500 plus on the enemy side for a $500 investment. And the fact that even now with aim punch being reduced as well, where when you don't have armor, that just makes the weapon even stronger.
Yeah, I think it should be, at this point, I think there's an argument for it to be $700 because investment
there's
versus
a
reward.
legitimate argument for it to be deleted from the game.
Yeah, but developers will never ever do that.
Oh no.
They'll just try to make everything else stronger instead. And here we go, there's a Glock push from Astralis, so Envy can make some more money. Happy getting some kills, XMS stealing a few as well. So maybe the comeback is on.
Yeah, best case scenario obviously is for ENVYUS to start this half off. And like I said at the beginning of the game, I don't necessarily think it matters too much for Envy whether or not they start on the CT side or the T side, as long as they can get some sort of momentum running on any of them. Obviously, they didn't get that going on the T side. There's no reason as to why they shouldn't be able to actually do a lot of damage here and pick up quite a few rounds. And again, there's no op on Astralis' side here on the first buy round as well.
I mean, with the full utility and full AKs of Astralis, they can always do some damage, and obviously we have the M4s out, the MP9s still in the hands of Happy. Perhaps this could be an edge that Astralis could use to get themselves into an advantage. A device is just covering, actually. I think that's Dupree in front of him. Indeed, looking for that forwards engagement, just providing some really high levels of threat towards that alley position. But there's two players, and the purpose of this might be to help draw players back away from T main, where the CTs are really deep at the moment. This is a really good setup from ENVYUS.
I just don't get too overconfident.
Oh, the bomb though.
Yeah,
that's interesting. That might entice Envy to push yet further, but Astralis have support now, so who's going to work out for? Envy don't go too far. There's a lot of time on the clock for Astralis.
and I like what XMS is doing around. I like the fact that he's staying aggressive behind these smokes instead of just giving up the map control that they fought so hard for. Because they've used a ton of utility. You can see there's nothing left on the side of Envy, so they need to catch somebody off on Astralis. But I wish there were two people here, but XMS alone, it's going to get the work done.
See how he doesn't take the second fight. I love this stuff. He has enough.
He's done his part, you know? If everybody just gets one kill every round, you're good.
Yeah, I mean, look at the timing. Now there's a flank from the CTs through the halls. They flashbang. That was the only grenade left. Having picked that one up though, but suddenly there are kills for Astralis. Suddenly it's a 3-on-3. That flank's going to be massive from XMS.
Yeah, they should know it's coming though. XMS gets off quite a few shots, down to 3, but still gets the kill. Zipex to get screamed though, and that will put it to a 2v2, so it starts to get really tense here. Happy creeping from the flank, easy kill from him. And now it's down to Kirby. 2v2, easy frag as well. So that bomb gets tapped, finding a really good timing there, Kirby. Now this 1v1 is a bit favourable for this, finds the headshot straight away. And I'm pretty surprised that Astralis picked this one up. Partly because I think when they see ENVYUS with 2 men in T main, they have to clear that position first because they can't easily do anything else until that position is cleared.
Yeah.
And then they failed. And then like, well, we can't push that position now. We just have to go B. Even though ENVYUS should know that that's the only place we can go, we have to do it. And they still got the kills.
I think there's a bit of a mistake on the side of ENVYUS. RPK actually on the inner bomb side, and that's something you don't see very often from him. The fact that he decides to take the duel, I think it's perfectly fine to just allow Astralis to get a bomb plant or actually get down on the bomb side. Even though you don't have a lot of utility to clear them out, you still have a 2-man advantage that you can play off of. So just play behind the bomb train, wait for your rotations to come in, and then basically throw bodies at people because you don't have the utility to force people out of position. So him going down, obviously it's a great shot from Kirby, but you do give him an opportunity to get back into the game and actually get some control of the bomb site.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there.
And again, like aggressive position takes from ENVYUS, and I like this. You can see because of the information that they've gotten from XMS, going to set up aggressively. And again, it's this weird inner setup from Envy that I hate. Happy's still going to be able to find 2 frags though. Bomb should be able to go down though.
Dupree looking to flank, but the flashbang just in the wrong time. That's the bomb as well.
Yeah.
Making a play towards connector. I don't know if they're going for something next level, but they were surrounded by the CTs on both ends, unbeknownst to them. The last man standing, 1 versus 3, 40 seconds. But again, the bomb is far away, and XMS is just waiting for him to back up.
I'm so sad. Imagine if that's the way he gets the ace. Imagine if that's the way he gets the ace. That would have been super sick.
That would have been a good one.
This was an impressive round from Happy though. He just marched through them, just ran them through. Crazy stuff.
Yeah. Curious as to, I guess Astralis in that scenario, because they were down in numbers, wanted to obviously cut off the rotations and see if they can get some cheap frags on Dupree, but obviously sometimes you just have to cut your losses and try to get a bomb plant. They're going to force up into this anyway, though.
ENVYUS doing a pretty decent job.
And again, see 2 players towards the inner bomb side on ENVYUS side.
They're putting the trust in Scream. Anti-eco Scream. Oh, not going to work out quite there for ENVYUS. This is a really big problem back into the back lines. But still, these taps are finding their ways onto Astralis as they are oncoming to that A bomb train.
Oh,
Oh, sexy stuff from Dupree. Can he find another one, though?
Oh, Sivnix was barely not in position to actually pounce on XMS there in that situation. I think he might have gotten spotted out by RPK. They do have the bomb, though, on Sivnix, and Dupree's gotten a very forward position. He might get or run into a bit of an issue with RPK flanking around from stairs. Oh, he's going to find XMS, though. This is going to allow for a bomb plant.
yeah, and maybe some positioning from Zipex if he thinks he has time, which he may well do. Ooh, what terrain is that? 9 HP. RPK knows he's done some damage. Maybe even rung the bell as well. Zipex with Kevlar and helmet, so it's possible he got shot in the head earlier on. RPK.
He does have a smoke. That's really big in this situation because he doesn't have a defuse kit, so just put that on smoke and see if you can force any sort of reaction out of Sivnix. But you have to tap the bomb. Okay, or just kill him.
That works as well. Time for Envy to defuse the bomb, just about. Another round in the bag. They currently have half the score, just about to pass that mark with this defuse. But Astralis, they only need 2 rounds, but the next one may not be one of them.
At this point, you just want to save up, get an op in the hands of Device, and see if you can work off your defaults. And that's, I think, Dupree stated multiple times in interviews that, you know, in an alternate universe he would be a main opper.
Oh really?
Yeah, no, he definitely wants. I know back in Copenhagen Wolves he wanted to op more, be a secondary op. But I'm not sure if that's like the instinct just every player has, that they feel like they can play with the op, and it's not necessarily always true. But definitely showcasing some skills with the scout there.
Yeah, that was really nice. Very strong damage. And here comes the set piece execution onto the A sites here for Astralis. ENVYUS, though, they will have seen this many times before, just jumping straight on top of the train. Scream wants to get himself into the action. One frag, then falls back in a way, allows XMS to get into the thick of things with that MP9. However, though, Astralis doing some damage here with these CZs. How much damage will they do? It's just Kirby left. Ooh. Oh, needed one more bullet there for the frag. Would have died regardless. ENVYUS stay alive to tell the tale.
It's not necessarily, you know, pretty the way ENVYUS are going about dealing with these anti-ecos. They are getting rounds though, which is obviously what matters in the end. But in that situation like that, XMS kind of halts for about a second and a half while waiting for the reload, and then it decides to push through without actually having the reload animation completed anyway. Instead of, you know, obviously the optimal solution in that scenario is you know, you pull up a pistol if you're that adamant about denying the bomb plant. And he just did the halfway thing where he probably just realized his mistake as he's running through the smoke, but at that point it's too late. But it does like lead to a lot of heavy losses on the side of ENVYUS. Still no op on the side of Astralis though, even with that bomb plant.
I don't know how he's making that mistake though at this level of the game. Because I was going to mention that as well. I was like, hey guys, I'm still reloading, but I'm here. Nice to see you. What you up to?
Just like when your brain lags half a second behind of what your instinct.
Well, Happy's got a lot of information, and he's being joined by Sixer, which is curious. Perhaps Sixer will push forward while Happy holds the angle, but Astralis may not wait around for this.
Oh, did he get spotted out? Yeah. Device has definitely seen the aggression in Ivy. Still takes the...
Whoa, that's unnecessary.
I think he used a flashbang, but it didn't
Okay.
work.
But even then, he heard the op shot going off after him, so I think at that point you should probably okay with just leaving it behind.
Yeah, I heard a flash, but I didn't see where it was. So couldn't figure out
XMS.
entirely. Yeah, XMS 5 versus 2. No answer to any of these kills just yet. Envy never seems to be on double figures, and mistake made from XMS, but Scream will clean up. Flashbang will allow Scream to go down for free, but Kirby, well, let's see what he can do. He's got 40 seconds. All the A players, all the players are on A, and that's him finished off. So only 4 rounds behind now, Envy.
Doing it. And again, we're seeing both sides really on their CT side setting the pace. It hasn't really been up to the T's to create really or decide what goes on in a lot of these rounds, and I think that's cool to see. Both teams are very well versed on how they want to basically mess up whatever setups that the T side are trying to do.
Yeah, it's so crucial to just be active on that CT side. It's so easy on a map like Train, especially for I think a lot of teams, especially the more inexperienced ones, to just be like, well, we'll just play defensively. Because that's enough against most T sides, but in this level you just can't play like that. You have to take the most edges you can, and that's from proactive, aggressive, dynamic play. RPK should get a lot of kills here. The smoke will beat out the Molotov, but it won't beat out the spray of RPK. There's 4 for him. And the eco. It's Dupree, though, to get the bomb down. He's picked up the M4 as well. So perhaps some additional damage can be done for his 3rd kill. Flash into the mix, but the spray will do it. Another round for ENVYUS, but the money will be very welcome for Astralis.
Maybe we'll get to see that off coming out on the T side for Astralis for the first time in the SAF.
Yeah, that's really good money.
All right. I think Dupree dropped off an op to device.
This is quite reminiscent of the original Train, but getting 3 T rounds was like a really good half.
It's like 4 was unheard of.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man.
And if you actually got 1 round, it's like, oh, that's all right.
We can still
That's
do
fine.
this.
This is actually fairly normal.
It's a slow approach from Astralis so far. Way more Ivy focus on there, and this time around, Symphony's actually going to find Happy out in the middle of nowhere.
What was the play?
I think Happy wanted to play corner, got Molotov off, and instead of backing off, just wanted to get that aggressive pick, similar to what we saw Device try to do in Ivy in their first half. Just gets caught off. And obviously alleviates a lot of pressure. Now it's going to be interesting to see how Envy plays this, if they're still going to be able to maintain aggression on their CT side, because again, this is one of those tough situations where you have to do something really to put it to Astralis and not let them execute or get a lot of map control.
The flashbang. We wonder. Oh, that is a nice answer. There are grenades and bullets flying all over the place, and the push is coming in towards the A site. Spring not winning his duel, but the bomb has been spotted. So what remains of the CTs, i.e. XMS, can rotate to help RPK, who gets taken down, doing the best he can. That is a failed flashbang, and now his position is known. Makes it easy for Astralis. Early advantages, and they manage to close the round. Finally, they make it to match point.
Ooh, look at the money too. They can't really buy properly, ENVYUS, and they obviously have to force it up. Scream with $1,400. Sucks to be Scream at this point. Surely someone will drop him something, maybe?
He's been a bit missing in this match anyway.
No, just the PT50 for him.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be a tough one. Astralis doing a great job just sort of walking outside, finding a more chaotic round, which is more about the sort of deathmatch, and this could be it. Emmy's going very aggressive here into the halls, and it's going to be Glaive now to try to receive this. They are still just going, and I think Glaive will hear the footsteps. Indeed, just throwing a Molotov down in his wake to prevent anyone from following. They are going to be sort of beginning to flank through the back halls. I do wonder if there'll be anyone just waiting directly for that. I think there is Dupree in position. Yeah, he's looking for it. So Astralis seem to have things under control here.
Very well done by Glaive there to block off any sort of quick flank. Scream's going to have a really tough time winning this duel.
Almost though. Almost, but not quite. And surely this is over. 1 versus 4. A consolation frag for Happy at the end there, but Astralis with the last 2 rounds. 16-11. Comeback was on for Envy until Happy got picked off in a very forward position, and maybe that